Hello, and welcome to Hong Kong Schools, Expat Living's podcast that introduces parents to Hong Kong's international schools. Are you moving to Hong Kong, or are you living here and starting to look at school options? Well, you've come to the right place. I'm Rebecca Simpson, the editor of Expat Living, Hong Kong's leading lifestyle publication for expats. I'm a mother of two girls at primary school, and I've covered Hong Kong's education scene for years. In that time, I've met many of the city's principals and visited loads of campuses. I know that deciding on a school can feel overwhelming. I've been through it with my own family. There's just so many schools, which is a great problem to have as a parent, but it doesn't make the decision any easier. You'll also find some chat online that makes schooling in Hong Kong seem even more overwhelming than it needs to feel. So, I thought I'd put together this podcast to help parents just like you and I better understand our options. So please sit back and relax as I take you into the principal's office of a range of schools so you can hear straight from the horse's mouth what each school has to offer.
Introducing Hong Kong Schools 101.
Today, let's start at the very beginning with a Hong Kong Schools 101. We're going to cover some common questions and try to answer what are the school options in Hong Kong, what should you budget, how does the school year work, and a whole lot more. So let's get started.
How does a school year work?
Well, most schools follow the British or American school year, so that's August until late June and with the summer off. Some schools, like the Australian International School, follow their own country's school year, which is the calendar year. But for the most part, our school year starts in August or early September and it finishes around about late June. And that means that we get the summer off and there's a big migration of expats who either return home for the summer or take some extended family holidays for around those 8 weeks or so.
What type of schools are there?
There are a few types of school options in Hong Kong, and like so many things here, it's never quite straightforward, and people will delight in catching you out on the details. But let's just put it simply. First of all, we have local schools, and these are schools that are government subsidised and some that are what they call DSS schools, which are local schools but have a little more wriggle room to be independent. Then there's international schools and private schools, and you might not be able to tell the difference with those, but anything with an international school and its title is obviously an international school. Private schools can be local or international. They have high fees, they can be competitive. They require an excellent English standard or a native English standard, and they're known to be quite prestigious. There are also private schools which are more like international schools, and sometimes, like I said, it's hard to tell the difference at first glance, but they're kind of bucketed together. Then there's the ESF network, which is the English Schools Foundation Network. And that was originally a government-funded English language school network here in Hong Kong, but it's since lost its government funding, and now it can be just as costly as an international school. And some schools in that network have achieved a really great reputation, similar to, say, a private or international school campus. And you'll hear great things about schools like Renaissance College or Discovery College, which are part of that network, but they're actually private schools. So you can see it's a bit muddled, but in short, we have local schools, which are government run and more affordable. We have private schools, which are more expensive and autonomous. And then we have international schools that cater specifically to international students. There's a lot of detail in there, but this is a real simplification just to get our heads around the system here.
How much should I budget?
Like in most countries, that's going to vary depending on the school that you choose, but there are some elements that you should look at when you're budgeting for schools. The first is application fees. There will be a charge to apply, and this could be anything from 1,000 Hong Kong dollars or 3,000 Hong Kong dollars or more. Make sure you budget for this if you're applying to multiple schools. Check the school's websites for details. It's normally there quite clearly. The next one's debentures. You may need to pay a debenture to secure a place, and this is only relevant for select schools, and we'll talk about this in a second in more details, and these can be anything up to $1 million or more, but they're not for every school, so don't panic, and we'll cover this in more details in a second. The third element is fees, of course. When it comes to fees, if you're in the local system, it's minimal. You pay for uniforms, books, school trips and other extras, but tuition is very minimal. And this means you could be budgeting as little as, say, 500 Hong Kong dollars a month for primary school. This cost will increase in senior school, and the fees for prestigious schools, say think Harrow or Malvern, could be up to 200,000 Hong Kong dollars a year or more. So it can be anything from say 500 Hong Kong dollars a month all the way up to, hundreds of thousands of Hong Kong dollars a year for schools. It depends on the school that you choose. Another element in that budget will be a capital levy. Many schools have a capital levy, which is an annual payment on top of fees. Again, this varies from school to school, and it could be anything up to, say, 70,000 Hong Kong dollars or more. You'll find details of the capital levy on the website. So when you're looking at schools and you're visiting websites, make sure that you check the fees page, and if they've got a capital levy, know that that's on top of school fees. Another element of your budget should be transport, and this is something that catches some parents unaware. If your child needs to travel to school, the transport costs will also need to be budgeted for. So unlike other countries, your child won't get a government bus or rail pass, and most school transport is privatised and it's quite costly. So check with the school about this to make sure that that's in your budget as well. When it comes to kindergarten, so preschools, fees are less. But even many local kindies are private and they have a substantial fee structure. If you do go to a local kindy or a local preschool, you can apply through the government for a voucher, and that offsets the costs and reduces it. It's called the Pre-Primary Education Voucher Scheme. Check the EDB website, which is edb.gov.hk, for those details.
What is a debenture and do I need one?
Yes. This is a good question. So coming back to debentures, a debenture is a lump sum payment that parents pay to schools to secure a place for their child. And often that money is returned when your child leaves the school. So in short, it's capital for schools and it's provided by parents. A debenture may be necessary to get your child into a very popular school. Some debentures are refundable, some depreciate as your child progresses through the school. Each school has its own approach to debentures, so you need to do a little bit of research here. They can be called something else as well, but the concept is the same. So you pay a lump sum upon being accepted, and you might get a refund at the end of your time at the school. How much is a debenture? I hear you ask. Again, annoyingly, it's going to depend on the school, but it could be anything from, tens of thousands of Hong Kong dollars up to millions. Check with the school about debentures that cover multiple children as well. That'll be on a case-by-case basis, and it's different for each school. Some schools require a debenture for each child. Some schools don't. So just check with the school about that. Debentures have had a significant role in the city's school scene in recent years, and when places were extremely tight. A while ago, debentures were of great value and they were used as a trump card to get students in. Sometimes they were paid for by corporations, so it's always good to check with your new employer if you're being relocated to Hong Kong and ask if they have any current debentures that you can access for your kids. However, don't panic. Not all schools require a debenture, so you might not have to budget for this. Check the school's fee schedule for details of debentures, or call them and ask direct if that's part of their fees and administration process as well.
What are the different curriculums?
If you're coming from a country with a single curriculum, this choice of curriculum can be really overwhelming, and you're not alone in feeling confused. The most common curriculums in international schools in Hong Kong are the IB, which is the International Baccalaureate, and this is also referred to as the IB Diploma in senior school, or the MYP, which is the middle years program for junior or high school, and the PYP, which is the primary years program for primary age kids. You need to get your jargon on when it comes to the IB. Another choice is the British National Curriculum, which is obviously followed by British schools. This is another really popular one, and that's from Britain. It's got some great benefits for families who move around a lot. There's stability in what's taught year to year. So if you move and you're with a British National Curriculum, you know your child won't have any gaps in their learning. So that one's quite popular with expats as well. Then there's also the American Curriculum. It comes from America, and it's offered by some schools, and it will help your child graduate with an American high school diploma. We also have schools like Malvern that offer the Forest School as part of their curriculum, where kids go out for a day into the forest or the bush, the beach in Hong Kong, and they spend their time in an outdoor classroom. That's super cool. And then, of course, national schools like the German Swiss School and the French International School follow their own country's curriculum. Also, the Australian International School do the same thing. Now, we cover some of these in a more deep dive in other episodes, so scroll through and find the curriculums that you're interested in and you can hear from an expert about them. And we also have some more information on our website, expatliving.hk. You'll be able to find some articles in there that will help you decipher all the different benefits around different curriculums.
What are the best schools in Hong Kong?
Well, there's no best school, that's for sure. And that's true across the world, no matter where you posted. As parents, we know what's worked for my child might not work for yours. But in Hong Kong, we have schools with really strong reputations for academics or sports. We've got schools with long histories, with amazing facilities. We have some that cater brilliantly to kids who thrive in non-traditional environments. Really, truly, we have a lot at our feet when it comes to schools. It's not a perfect, comprehensive landscape by any means. It could definitely do with more diversity and resources for children with disabilities or challenges, but there is a lot on offer here. I can't tell you the best school, that's not possible for your family, but I can tell you that we have many incredible schools in this city and you won't be short on choice.
What do I find first, neighbourhood or school?
The chicken or the egg. Many people will tell you school first and home next, and that's good advice because although Hong Kong is really small, we're a cluster of islands and traffic can be quite brutal, so your kids may face a long commute if your school and your neighbourhood don't align. However, lots of school kids travel a long way to get to school, and that school bus system is quite comprehensive. So even in areas like Discovery Bay, which is on Lantau Island and quite far away from other schools, you've got a migration of children in the early hours of the morning heading off to the French International School, the Canadian International School, the Australian International School. That's all on the other side of Hong Kong Island. So it's quite likely that you will be able to find a school bus or a cluster of kids travelling from your neighbourhood to the international school that you choose. The other thing to note is that if you're looking at schools like ESF, which is the English Schools Foundation that we spoke about before, they have catchment areas. And you're going to need to live in the catchment area if there is a specific ESF school that you're interested in joining. Also note, it's quite expensive to get to and from school. The buses are privatised. It's not cheap, so you need to factor that into your budget.
Can I go to another country's school?
Absolutely. You don't have to be an Aussie to attend the Australian International School. You don't have to be Japanese to attend the Japanese International School, which has amazing facilities. The world is your oyster here. Just find a school that you're interested in and apply. Don't worry about passports or where you come from. You can talk to the school about that, but no, definitely not. Don't let the country name of the school put you off. Just give it a shot. Well, I hope this covers some of your initial questions about school in Hong Kong. I encourage you to comb through our feed and find episodes that answer these questions in more depth and showcase some of the more popular schools in the city. If you've got questions, you can email us at editor@expatliving.hk or visit our website, expatliving.hk.